Welcome everybody. I think it's sort of getting now to the real summertime, and I believe also in Manchester, when I spoke to somebody earlier, the weather was good as well. What do you think of that?
So, yes, indeed.
Beautiful. So it always makes us feel a little bit better, but I really just wanted to say to everybody, good Chodesh. And it's very special to have Suzy here with us. We spent some wonderful days learning in the Holy Land together a number of years ago. And please God, we always say that it's something that we always look forward to doing again. I don't want to waste any time, because really tonight's topic for all of us is something that I can't tell you. You know, there are people that, you know, Suzy says, oh my gosh, you know, we need to give people more time. Well, I don't know what it means not to be like, come on, let's do. So I have had a few people saying, you know, Thursdays are difficult for me. They haven't said this to me every week, Suzy. I have to tell you, please make sure that I get the recording. So we do know that this is something that, you know, we're all managing and dealing with. And there's no better time like right now to be able to learn anything more that we can learn, and certainly from the experts. So yeah, I'm going to hand over to you, put you in the spotlight, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Joanna. Such a pleasure to be here, ladies. Hello. So I would love to start by asking you guys, I don't know if you're familiar with using the chat box, but I'd love to know, kind of like, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate your stress as at the moment? And what do you think is your biggest source of stress? Like, what is the thing that is making you most stressed? Just so we can, and it's all, you know, there's no judgment here. We're all in this together. We all get stressed, but it would just help me to kind of tailor things to what's kind of going on with you right at the moment. So if any of you are able to use the chat box or put your hand up, give me a number, 1 to 10. That would be amazing. Any
shy English ladies?
Oh
no, come on.
Elderly parents, yes. Well, that's a big one. Elderly parents, too much to do in a day. Absolutely, so much to do. 2, wow. Is that you, Selena? Selena, is that you? I can't see you. 2, stress. Whoa. Oh, we have 10. Yeah, so that's a lot of stress. Yeah. So there's a lot for us to worry about, isn't there? There's so much. Kids, parents. Oh, yeah, normally overwhelm. I think, yeah, Rebecca, you've hit the nail on the head. Overwhelm. I don't know if that resonates with everyone else, but it just feels like there's just too much. There's just too much for us on our shoulders. Yeah, keeping up with everything. So we're getting a bit of a theme here, balancing act, just juggling too many balls, worrying about dropping one, feeling responsible for everybody. Is that ringing any bells? And yeah, there's only so much of us that we can do. So this is going to be a really chilled talk. I've got my candle, I've got my chamomile tea. There's no PowerPoint. This is going to be very chilled, and I hope you'll feel a bit more relaxed by the end of it. So I must just tell you that when we were organizing the flyer for this just a couple of days ago, Joanne initially sent me one that said something like how to live stress-free. And I said, oh no, that's not possible. Like, it's not realistic to imagine that any of us can have a life that is stress-free. That's just not going to happen. You know, it's part of the human condition that we have stresses every day. And it's not even something that we would aspire to. Like, if we didn't have any stress, we wouldn't get out of bed. We'd never do anything. So stress is not a bad thing. We don't need to think it's a dirty word. But the problem, I think, that a lot of us have got at the moment is we're dealing with chronic stress. So that's when we're meant to go into the stress response. That's how human beings are built. So we're meant to have this fight or flight response in reaction to a threat. So we were running away from a wild animal, and then go back to our rest and digest, where we can be calm. But the problem is, most of us now, and you can see it in the comments, oh yeah, being a perfectionist. Thank you, Hayley. That's a good one. We're not getting out of the sense, that stress state. So chronic stress is when that goes on for like more than a few hours and we're stuck in it. And the problem with that is that it wears us down. It wears down our immune system. And it really is the source of most of the chronic diseases that we're seeing are either caused or exacerbated by stress. So we really want to get a handle on this. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to go through with you 3 kind of strands that I use to help me manage my stress, because I used to be stressed up to here. I wasn't always a health coach. I used to run a PR agency. I worked in PR for 22 years. And I can tell you, if you'd have seen me at the age of 30, I can tell you just one afternoon, this is give you a flavor of how I used to be. I was at the office one day and, you know, running from bit to bit and like, oh, got to do this, got to do that, just like anxious and stressed and overwhelmed. And I suddenly realized I hadn't been to do a wee the whole morning. And I thought, oh no, I need to go to the toilet. And literally the ladies' loos were about 6 meters from my desk, but I didn't want to lose a second of that time. So I was talking to myself on the way. I was literally saying, like a crazy person, I was talking about, I need to call this client. And I get to the loo, I kind of sit down on the loo, start doing a wee. And after a few seconds, I was like, I don't have time to finish this wee. I don't have time to finish this. And I literally I had good pelvic muscles, obviously, literally zipped up and didn't finish my wee. So that's how I was. I see Joanne's got her mouth open. Yes. So that was my state of mind, was that I didn't even honor my body enough to empty my bladder. You know, never mind do anything else, you know, that wasn't even in the frame. And, you know, it makes me sad. It makes me sad to think that I would do that to myself, but that's how I was for a very, very long time. And, you know, that's not fair to ourselves. It's not fair. So, oh yeah, you can identify with that. Yeah. So, okay, what can we do about it? The first thing we need to say is that we need to be proactive about this, because nobody's going to do it for us. Like, nobody's going to come riding in on a white horse and saying, oh, you know, Laurie or Hayley, let me take everything off your plate and you just go and sit in the garden for a week. You know, it's not going to happen. Like, we actually have to put the stake in the sand and say, this is my self-care, because no one is going to do it for us. Okay, so we have to kind of be proactive. And we've all heard the analogy of putting on our safety jacket, you know, on the plane, or emergency inflatable jacket. You've all heard it 1,000 times, but I'm going to say it again, okay? Because you can never hear this too often. We have to put on our own inflatable jacket before we can help anyone else, okay? We are no use to anyone if we have got ourselves burnt out and from that develop, God forbid, a chronic illness or whatever. We can't help anybody, you know, none of our loved ones. So it's really incumbent upon us, if we want to be there for our loved ones. And I'm sure, you know, Jewish ladies, especially, we're kind of wired to care for other people. I mean, all women are, but I think there's an added dimension with Jewish women. We have to put on our life jacket first. So what does that look like? So the first thing I'm going to show you is something I teach to every single person who I coach, and it's tapping. So you may be familiar with this if any of you ladies have ever had EFT, emotional freedom technique, but this is my #1 self-care, emergency, emotional first aid, whatever you want to call it. It is amazing. I do this every single day. I don't get up in the morning without doing this. So I'm going to show you guys. If you can put your camera on, it will mean that I can see you and check that you're doing it okay. But this is going to be a very quick sequence. If you feel you need to wash your hands, because we're going to be touching our face, that's fine. It's going to take me 2 minutes to teach you. And I promise you, this is the best thing ever. So what we're going to do is we're going to be tapping on various points of the face and the body. And it's a little bit like acupuncture, without the needles and without the need for a therapist. And what this technique does is it brings down our stress hormones. So, and it's been proven, about 100 scientific papers on this. It literally brings down your stress hormones, calms the nervous system. It's amazing for trauma, for PTSD, for everything. I learned it when my dad passed away and I got very stuck in grief, and I was helped through EFT, and then I trained up in EFT. So I've been doing it ever since. So ladies, I'm going to ask you to hold up one hand. Firstly, no, sorry, let me rewind. What I'd like you to do is check in with yourselves first. So when we feel stress, it's always manifested in the body. There's always some sort of physical signal. So I want you to just go inwards and just see where you are feeling stress. So some people might feel a tightness in the chest or a churning in the stomach. They might feel that their hands are clammy, or maybe you're kind of got a nervous shake, or you're ruminating, your mind's just going crazy. Just try and tune in and notice where you are feeling stress in your body. Okay, just tune in. All right, now I'm going to ask you to start with just taking a gentle breath in through your nose. Slowly breathe out. Okay, we're going to do that one more time. Gentle breath in through the nose. Slowly breathe out. Breathe out through your mouth if you prefer, or your nose. So what we're going to do, we're going to take one hand, and this is called the karate chop. We're going to tap on the side of the hand. Okay, either hand is fine. Just gentle tapping, just down from your little finger. You don't need to count the taps. Just say 12 to 20 taps per point. So that's the first point. Then we're going to go to the beginning of the eyebrows. Just gently tapping here. And then we're going to go round to the side of the eyes where the bony bit is. And then we're going to go under the eyes. Okay, under the nose. The chin. And now we're going to go to the collarbone. This is just above the bony bit, the collarbone. Now this is a particularly calming point. So a lot of people like to spend a few more seconds here. And we're just tapping very gently. And I'm breathing deeply. Okay, then we're going to go under the arm, about where the bra strap is. So under one arm, that's it. Wonderful. And then back to the collarbone. Okay, then we're going to take a gentle breath in through the nose. Slowly breathe out. Do that one more time. Slowly breathe out. And then we're going to do a rinse and repeat. So we start on the hand, the karate chop. Do you remember where the next point is? We're going to go to the beginning of the eyebrows. And then the end of the eyes. Just on the bony bit here. And under the eyes. Under the nose. Mouth, under the mouth, sorry. And then that lovely point just above the collarbone. I'm just taking a couple of longer breaths. And then we're going to go under the arm, the bra strap area. See? And back to the collarbone. Okay. Now we're going to finish off with 2 more mindful breaths. So slowly in through the nose, slowly out. You can sigh out if you like. In through the nose. Okay, So just check in with yourself. And if anyone has noticed any change, then please just write a comment. But if you were doing that and you still felt anxious, scared, sad, angry, frustrated, you would just carry on. You would just carry on and do another round. Okay, so it's perfectly safe. You can just keep tapping and you would just keep going until you bring down, you know, those stress hormones and you get back to feeling calm and grounded. So it's a wonderful thing to do. I mean, I tap first thing in the morning. I also tap in the shower just because it's very good at kind of getting rid of negativity. And I kind of feel like I'm washing myself and it goes down the plug hole type thing. So for me, it just makes sense to tap in the shower. And tingling in fingers. Okay, that's interesting. That's good to know. And also, if you are, say, in bed at night and you're just stuck on an anxious loop and you can't get your brain to relax enough to fall asleep, this is a really good way to calm yourself before you go to sleep. You can do either side. It doesn't matter. It's very, very simple. You can't go wrong. Honestly, you can't go wrong. So yes, before bed is wonderful. And just anytime you have a stressful situation, anytime, whatever it is, whether it's your kids, whether it's elderly parents, whether you just, when you just feel yourself getting overtaken by anxiety or whatever, you just do that and it will bring you right down. Okay, so that's the first thing. So it's quite different from mindfulness in that mindfulness is also wonderful. With this, you don't actually have to, you could be thinking about anything while you do this. You're not having to kind of, so it's slightly different. Personally, I find this easier because with mindfulness, I find I have to be sort of, I have to really try. Whereas this, you know, a child can do this as well. If you have children, you can teach it to your kids. And if you have young children, you can do it on them. And it's amazing for kids. So yeah, right. Okay, the next thing I want to tell you is that how we start the day is going to be a really great way to kind of bring down your stress levels. So, you know, it would be lovely if we all had an hour in the middle of the day to go to a yoga class and, you know, do an hour's meditation. I mean, wouldn't that be fabulous? But the reality of life is we're all really busy and we don't have that time necessarily. And it's also very difficult. Once you get caught up in the day, you feel like events just take over and it's very hard to find time. I'm coaching people who are not even having lunch. You know, they're just grabbing biscuits wherever they can because things are just going faster than they can keep up with. So we have more control over the bookends of the day. So first thing in the morning and last thing at night, we have more control over. And that's what we want to take advantage. So today I'm going to talk to you about a morning routine. So this is a real game changer. And you can start really, really simple. So I like things that are very small and very easy and very practical, because I think otherwise people get overwhelmed and they try and do everything at once. Like say, you know, I'm feeling stressed, I'm overweight, I'm unhealthy. I'm going to start meditating. I'm going to start weightlifting and running, and I'm going to cut all the sugar, and they end up doing none of it because it's too much. It's too much all in one go. Okay. And we get overwhelmed. It's much, much better to start with one tiny, tiny thing, too small to fail. And then we get our confidence up. So I'm going to give you a few ideas for morning routine. So I've just shown you one of the things that I do in the morning. I actually have a really nice essential oils next to my bed. And the first thing I actually, before I even tap, I'll just kind of like rub some on my hands. I have it in a like coconut oil, and you can have whatever mix you like. I think at the moment I have like lime and black pepper. It's really nice. And just taking a few deep breaths and then tapping, and it's a really nice way to start the day. So obviously, as Jewish women, well, as Jewish people, we start the day with gratitude, don't we? You know, that's the first thought, isn't it? The first thing that we utter is thank you for reuniting our soul with our body and blessing us with another day. And this is a really beautiful way to start the day, because we know that there's a lot of science now behind the practice of gratitude. And there's a professor called Robert Emmons in the States, who he's like the world leader in the science of gratitude. And he's shown that people that have a daily gratitude practice are 20% happier than those who don't. So that's massive. I mean, if you can imagine, if there was a pill that made you 5% happier, we'd be queuing around the block for it. This is 20%. That's a really big difference. And it's very, very simple to do. So what do I mean by a gratitude practice? So I write in a gratitude journal every day. I actually have one where I write every morning and every evening, but once a day would be fantastic for you to do. Seed have a fabulous gratitude journal. It's actually the first one I ever bought about 10 years ago. And it doesn't need to be anything big. Like I have actually a Seed gratitude journal. I haven't got it in front of me, but I have one from 2015. And there's an example that I always read to people because it's just so sweet. And I wrote in it, I think it was like January, and I've still got it. And one day, one of my 3 things that I wrote down that I was grateful for is that my son Louis had cleared the mugs out of his bedroom, because he has a bit of a problem with keeping mugs of tea in his bedroom. He keeps them there for weeks while tea bags go festering. And on this day, he brought them downstairs. Now you might think, well, that's a bit of a nothing, but I was grateful for it. I was obviously grateful enough to write it down. And of course, if you ask me now in 2000, you know, the year that we are now, I would never have remembered that 6 years later. But because I wrote it down, you know, I have a record of it. So what's the big deal with gratitude? Gratitude interrupts the cycle of anxiety. So we can only think one thought at once. So I cannot be thinking about an elderly parent and worrying about, you know, what's going on with the elderly parent. At the same time, be grateful for my daughter emptying the dishwasher. I can only think one of those at a time. You can only think one thought at a time. So the gratitude interrupts the cycle of negative thinking to positive thinking. And with that, we then get out of this fight or flight, the stress response, and our body can relax, okay? So it's safe, effectively. And it does loads more than that. So people who do a daily gratitude practice are more positive, they're more joyful, they're more resilient, they have higher self-esteem, they're less affected by loneliness, they feel more connected to other people, they are healthier, they exercise more. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. There's just no end to the benefits. And again, it's a very simple, quick thing to do. It's free, you know, you spend a few pounds on a gratitude journal if you want, or you can write in any notebook. And it really is life-changing. So it's something I encourage everyone who I coach to start a gratitude practice.
I'm just going to stick in here 1 second, Suzy. This is one of them. We have both, this is our 2nd edition, because we actually sold out the first and we redid the second, and the person here knows the gratitude that I have to who. And if you have a look as well, Suzy Rinkoff is actually somewhere on the screen here as well. And Suzy actually personalizes our gratitude journals for us. So for a few pounds extra, you can actually even you can personalize to give as a gift, or even as somebody did, they did it for themselves. And I'm just going to tell you that I add in and I give to young Hassanim and Colors, young people getting married, and I put both their names and allow them to spend their time actually writing the gratitudes to each other.
Wow. What a beautiful thing, Joanne. That's so lovely. So, morning routine. Okay, so just going back to that, I just want to tell you, first of all, before I go further with the morning routine, what my morning routine used to look like is I would wake up to Radio 4, to the Today program, and instantly I was in fight or flight, because it was, you know, war, recession. The news is never a jolly thing to listen to. And if that's the first thing that you hear, you're immediately plunging your body, your mind into this stress response. Because when we wake up, in those few moments where you come round, your brain is very susceptible, like extra vulnerable to the inputs. So you have to be very choosy about what you expose yourself to in those first few minutes. And I was doing the worst possible thing, which was straight in with the news. So if you are immediately pouncing on your emails and, you know, what have I missed? And, oh gosh, I've got this work email. And, you know, that's not a gentle opening to the day. So if you can even have 3 minutes, you know, if that's all you've got, go with the 3 minutes, but just to have some sort of buffer between you waking up and starting all the busyness and the responsibilities and everything. So tapping, that takes 2 minutes, and you can pick and choose. I'm going to give you a few options. I'm going to ask you at the end to write down in the chat box one thing that you're going to commit to, okay? So choose at least one. Tapping is one. Gratitude, you could do some gentle breathing, some mindful breathing. I do a Calm app on my phone. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Calm and Headspace, so I do the daily Calm, which is a nice way to start the day. And just gentle stretching. So it doesn't need to be a formal workout. It could just be you kind of going like, you know, just stretching up, whatever feels good to your body, but just ironing out the kinks. Because obviously you've been, you know, laying all bed at night and you want to kind of, you know, decompress a bit. So anything like that, just getting in touch with your body. It might be that instead of going to your phone and going on Facebook or whatever it is that you might do, you could put on your favorite song, just like one song, and just have a boogie. And honestly, that is the most energizing thing to do in the morning, because firstly, it's movement, you know, and exercise. It doesn't have to be this grim kind of like, you know, like crunches and burn it and no pain, no gain. And, you know, we're just looking for joyful movement. That's a wonderful thing to do. And just putting on something which just invigorates you and energizes you, you know, just one song, maybe dance around your bathroom or your bedroom. The other thing is, can you get outside? So we know that we're very much, our circadian rhythm, which is our 24/7 body clock, is very affected by light and dark. So if we want to sleep well at night, we really need to be exposing our eyes without sunglasses to the morning light, because that's what sets our circadian rhythm. So that basically a number of hours later, we grow tired and are then ready for bed. So I'm not doing a great thing at the moment. I should have my orange glasses on now. I forgot to get them, but I wouldn't normally be looking at a screen like this at this time. I normally have some orange glasses which cut the blue light, because this will maybe interfere with my sleep a bit. So getting outside, you know, if you have a morning cup of coffee, can you take it outside? And when you do go outside, can you maybe put your feet on the bare grass, so that if you're lucky enough to have an area with grass, you know, whatever, you go with whatever you've got. But if you can connect to the earth and benefit from the earth's energy, that's a really nice grounding thing to do. Just take a couple of breaths, you know, just like, thank you, Hashem, for this beautiful day. It's going to be a beautiful day. It's going to be a wonderful day, you know, and saying affirmations to ourselves really, really helps. I know it sounds very woo-woo, but honestly, if you actually say it's going to be a wonderful day, you're more likely to have a wonderful day. And just looking up, I mean, I'm actually facing my garden at the moment, so I can see the roses are out. It's a beautiful time of year. But any time of year, just looking up, seeing the branches, how are the trees different from yesterday, listening to the bird song. We know that listening to bird song, again, reduces those stress hormones. Anytime we're in contact with greenery, even just looking at it, brushing past it, lowers our stress hormones. So being around any nature at all is like a balm, literally like a balm for our anxiety, for our stress. And it's all been proven. There's a load of science behind it. I mean, even people who are in a hospital, you know, people who are facing a brick wall get better much more slowly than people who have a view of a tree or even a picture of a tree. A picture of a tree does the same job. That's how powerful nature is. So if you can allow yourselves just a few minutes to go outside in the morning, that is a wonderful way to start the day. So we're looking at very quick, easy things, and go with the easiest thing. Go with the thing that appeals most to you. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to ask you actually to type in one thing that you are going to do from tomorrow. Oh, we have, waking up at 5 a.m, paint and daven and write. Oh, wow, that sounds like a beautiful, beautiful way to start the day. Gosh, wow. And you can always start with one thing and then add to it. You know, my morning routine, I've developed over a long, long time. I actually journal as well, which is the thing that keeps me sane, is journaling, which I'll talk about actually. I might as well tell you about journaling since we're on the subject. Oh yeah, stretching to my favorite song. That sounds great. Ooh, putting your head out the window. I love that. Yeah, because you're going to get the light there, and that's a wonderful thing. Brilliant. Daven in the garden. Yeah, that's what I do. Daven in the garden, because you're not losing any time, but you're going to get that important light, exposure to that light while you're davening. So that's a win-win. Yeah, I love that. That's fantastic. Yeah, great, great, ladies. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. So because someone's mentioned journaling, I'm just gonna mention that. So journaling might sound really daunting, you know, especially if maybe you think it sounds like writing an essay or something like that. It's nothing like that. So my journaling, I literally have an A4 pad in my bedroom, and I literally just empty my head in the morning. And it is the most incredible thing. So there's so much research behind this for people who are struggling with depression, eating disorders, lots of different things. It is the next best thing to therapy. And I think it's probably, in many cases, actually as good as therapy. So I do this every morning. The reason I didn't mention it before is that I don't want you to think, oh, she does this, that, you know, I'm not going to have time to do all of those. So I'm just going to ignore her completely. But if any of you are interested in trying journaling, it is the most incredible thing. And you literally just write. So you could start by writing something like, what do I need to know now? What do I need to know now? And just let your pen move. And you'll find, and you might start by saying, oh, this is stupid. And this woman on the Seed Talk said that I should do this, but it's a waste of time. And I don't know what to write. And I've got so much to do. And I can't believe I'm sat here in front of a pad. But what you'll find is after a few minutes, suddenly things start coming up and the pen starts moving. And it's the most wonderful way of kind of working through stuff, because it's safe. You know, your pad is never going to judge you. It's never going to say like, oh, stop whinging, or you're pathetic for complaining about that. You know, it's just a very safe receptacle for all of our feelings. And it's a little bit, you know, if you want to look at it like writing to Hashem, you know, that's another way of looking at it, like saying, you know, this, I've got this, I don't know what to do about this. I'm handing it over to you type thing. And it just kind of releases all that pressure. So it's something to try. If, you know, again, it's free, you really need a pad. So yeah. Okay. Joanna, I forgot to ask you how long you wanted me to talk for.
Sorry, I've just got to remind myself to unmute, and I'm feeling very relaxed here. So I wasn't jumping on my computer. Where are we up to? We usually go up to an hour. So feel free, before we finish off, we do have fresh challah. So my challah dough is ready and ready. So
okay. So I definitely would like to leave time for questions. So I'm just going to go with a few more things which massively affect our stress levels, which people don't always think about. So sleep, is a massive, massive thing. I can tell you, I am vile if I've not slept, vile. And everything's a problem. And, you know, I'm just not very fun to be around. So, you know, when we get the fundamentals right, it really helps massively. I know sleep is very, very emotive. We're not going to have time to kind of go into it in any depth. And for a lot of people, it's very elusive, like maddeningly elusive, however hard they try. I do have, I don't know if any of you ladies listen to podcasts, but I have a podcast called Wellness Unwrapped, like wrapping a present, which you can find on iTunes, Spotify, also on my website. And there's a whole podcast on sleep. So, you know, you can listen to that, and it's very straight talking and very real life. But it's really important to realize that it's very difficult for us to feel mentally well when we're not getting the sleep that we need. And the other thing is food. Again, a very emotive topic. I know one of the ladies has mentioned emotional eating, which is something that is just everywhere, you know, particularly now. So food is such a huge topic. I could talk for half a day just on food. I've actually just I have a YouTube channel. I've literally just posted a video about food. If you're interested, you can have a watch of that. It's not very long. But we need to manage our blood sugar. Okay, so when our blood sugar is spiking, that puts us in a state of stress. So I know for me, if my blood sugar is all over.
You've just yeah, you were muted.
I'm not muted now. Okay,
no, you're not. Good.
Okay, I'm back. Yes, so we've already got enough going on stressful in the world. You know, we are in the middle of a pandemic, so we can't control that, right? But we need to be able to control the things that we can control. So what can we control? We can control what time we go to bed, hopefully, you know, whether we're watching TV at midnight or whether we've kind of gone to bed an hour earlier with a nice book. You know, we can control what we have for breakfast. So these are the things that we can control. We control what we listen to first thing in the morning, whether we listen to the news and get irate about whatever, you know, the vaccine or whatever it is that you're getting irate about, or whether we, you know, look at something that's spiritually uplifting and listen to something that's spiritually uplifting, or do some breathing, whatever. That's our choice. So one quite nice exercise to try if you want to go away and do this is to get a piece of paper and just draw 2 circles, and in one circle write down all of the things that are worrying you that are out of your control. So that would be things like the pandemic, you know, whether Israel will allow people who are not double vaccinated in August, you know, all these things, the economy, all of these things that are stressing us out, okay? And then it's important to realize that you can stress and worry about these for as long as you like. It's not going to make a jot of difference, not one iota of difference, because you have no control over them. And then in the other circle, you write down the things that you can control, which is what you're having for breakfast and lunch and dinner, and what time you go to bed, and whether you move your body, you know, and whether you do tapping in the morning, and whether you call a friend, and all of these things you can control. If you focus on the things that you can control, you're going to feel a whole lot more in control of your life, because, you know, life feels a bit out of control at the moment, and human beings are not great with uncertainty. We don't cope well with uncertainty. We don't like not knowing if we're going on holiday that we booked in August. You know, it freaks us out. We like to know what's happening when. So by doing this exercise and focusing on the things that you can control, you're going to immediately start to feel better and calmer and more grounded. Okay, so that's a lovely exercise to do. So with the food, this is, as I say, it's a huge subject. You can find a ton of stuff on my website, through my YouTube channel and my podcast and blogs, etc. Just very briefly, because we're talking about the mornings in this evening together, make sure that you are having a breakfast that is containing protein and good fats. Okay, So all the years that I had either a bagel or toast or crunchy nut cornflakes or shreddies or Weetabix for breakfast, thinking that I was having a great breakfast, it was a disaster. It was an absolute disaster, because a refined carbohydrate bomb, which that is the very last thing our body needs when we wake up. We've been fasting all night. So break fast, we're breaking the fast. We do not need a refined carbohydrate bomb that is going to send our blood sugar spiraling, and that affects our mood massively, and it puts our body under stress. And it also leads us towards type 2 diabetes, which we definitely don't want. And obesity and Alzheimer's and any chronic disease that you can think of. So we want to control our blood sugar. It's massively, massively important. How do we do that? Eating protein and good fat. So the breakfast I have these days, I actually had this morning full fat Greek yogurts, the ones you can stand your spoon up in, really thick and creamy. And then I put nut sprinkles, which I get from the supermarket. I put extra walnuts, because nuts and seeds are just so good for you. They protect your brain. You know, if we want our nervous system to work properly, we have to remember that, you know, every cell in your body has a sheath of fat around it. And when we have a low fat diet, massively affects our mood, and our nervous system just doesn't work properly. So we need to be eating those healthy fats. So nuts and seeds. And then I put some blueberries on. I have some frozen berries. Again, you know, people who eat lots of different colored plant foods, particularly vegetables, are happier as well as healthier. So there's a big correlation between eating a whole food diet that is high in good protein. So if you're not vegetarian, that would be things like eggs and, you know, oily fish. You can remember oily fish by SMASH: salmon, mackerel, anchovy, cod, sardine, herring. So these are the oily fish that are very high in these omega-3, very, very important omega-3 fatty acids. Because I think sometimes people think, you know, mental health and, you know, I'll go and see a psychotherapist. They forget that the brain sits in the head, which is attached to the rest of my body, as you can see, via the neck, you know. And, you know, it's not some separate entity that we just treat with through a psychotherapist. It's attached to the body. And what goes on in the body affects our mind, and vice versa. And if we're putting junk in our body, and if we've got gut problems and our blood sugar's all over the place, of course we're going to suffer with our mental health. It stands to reason, because it's all one system. So drinking water, you know, keep hydrated, because even getting a tiny bit dehydrated, even like 1 to 2%, you wouldn't even notice that. Already the brain is starting to malfunction, okay? And that's when we get stressed, we get overly reactive. So we get an email, which if we were properly hydrated, would have thought, okay, but we get triggered and we react. I'm going to send a stroppy email back, because our brain's not working. It's not that we're stroppy people, but if our brain is dehydrated, if our brain is not being fed with the correct fats and nutrients, it's not going to work properly for us. And we're going to be overly reactive. We're going to blow up when our kid says one thing that otherwise it would have gone over our head. So if we want to stay calm and grounded, we have to look at what's going in our body. You know, are we giving it what a human body needs to work properly? So yeah, it's the basics that you will have all have heard 1,000 times, but it's worth, you know, it's worth going over them again. So I think I'm going to ask you for questions at this point, and feel free if anyone would like to put their hand up or write a comment. Comments, questions, whatever you like. No? Oh, I can't believe there's no comments. Yes, of course, of course. So the SMASH oily fish is salmon, mackerel, anchovy, sardine, and herring. So I eat a lot of anchovies because I like them, and they're very quick and easy, and 99p for a tin. 3 meals or little and often. So that, I'm not going to get too much into, because we could be here all night talking about food, but personally, I eat 3 meals. I used to snack constantly, and that was because I was constantly starving, because I wasn't eating protein and good fats. So now I make sure I have fat with every meal. I literally will go, right, where's my fat? Okay, let's put some extra virgin olive oil all over my vegetables. Oh, thank you. Thank you. What's better? There's loads on my YouTube, you'll find. How do you avoid it? Oh, wow, that's a great question. Okay. How do you avoid a negative thought interfering? Right. So I'm going to answer the gratitude question because I think it's a really interesting one from Tanya. Now, the gratitude, it's like building a muscle. And initially, when I start working with people, sometimes some people find it really hard to think of something. You know, they might say, well, what have I got to be grateful for? You know, my son is playing up and this and that. But what happens is the more that you do this, and it doesn't happen overnight. I want to tell you, your life is not going to change if you start doing the gratitude journal tonight. Do not expect you'll be a different person by Shabbat, all right? It takes time because we are rewiring the brain, and that takes time, okay? But if you sit down every day, or say you can't write on Shabbat, but you still think of 3 things, and they could be tiny. As I said, it could be a tiny, tiny thing, all right? Over time, it's like putting on a different pair of glasses. And what happens is eventually it becomes your default, but it takes time. So keep going with it. Don't worry about the outcome. Just do the habit. It's like with your water. Don't think about the outcome. Just do the habit. You know, one tiny habit at a time, and the outcome will come. But I've been keeping a gratitude journal since Seed brought one out. It was around 10 years ago. So I've had a long time. And I can tell you, I've never had a day when I couldn't think of 3 things. You know, even on the day of my dad's funeral, there wasn't a day that I couldn't come up with 3 things. Never. There is always, always, always something that you can find. Always. So just start doing it, and you will look back. Maybe at the end of the year, you'll look back and you'll see that you've changed. So what will happen is, so say, for example, when I found out that I have a son in yeshiva in New York, and I haven't seen him now since, well, beginning of September. But when I found out last Pesach, we were so looking forward to seeing him, and he couldn't come back. And first thought was, oh my gosh, he's not coming back. You know. But my second thought was, he's happy. He's in a lovely community. He's going to have people that are going to cook for him. So, but if I hadn't been doing the gratitude journal, I would have just stayed in that. I can't believe my son's not coming home, and this is going to be a disaster at Pesach, and how unfair is this? So the gratitude changes because naturally we're drawn to negative thoughts, okay? It's not you. That's just how human beings are. It's the way we've developed is we cling to the negative. It's like what do you call it? Velcro. It's like we're like Velcro for negative thoughts, and we're like Teflon for positive thoughts. The positive thoughts don't stick. So we have to actively change that. And the way we do that is through gratitude, by counting our blessings. Because, you know, naturally, and, you know, if you think, if you were living in, you know, in the wilderness and you heard a twig snap, you would have to be on guard, because that might be an animal or someone coming to attack you. So we are very, very kind of like, it's a threat. But that's just normal. So it's normal to feel negative thoughts and get stuck on them and ruminate and go on and on and on. So we have to interrupt that with gratitude. Okay, so teenagers, tapping is fantastic. Yes, it's absolutely brilliant. So you can teach, yes, I do work with teenagers, but you can teach them yourself to tap. It's fantastic for exam stress. If you wake up in the middle of the night, I have a nice book that I read that's calming. I did that last night. But I think the main thing I can tell you is to listen to your body. I had a really rough night last night. For some reason, I just couldn't sleep. And I felt rough today. I felt really, really rough. I'm thinking, my goodness, I've got to give a talk at 8:30 about wellness, and I feel rubbish. So around 6 o'clock, I really was feeling bad. I said to my kids, you know what, I'm just going to go lie down for half an hour. And I set my time on my clock. I literally just had a very quick nap and woke up and felt a lot better. And hopefully I've done this justice and you know, I've been okay. But you have to listen to your body and you have to honor your body. Okay. So if you're thirsty, have a drink of water. You know, if you're tired, go to bed. Don't be up baking. You know, I mean, do you need to make cakes for everyone? Do you need to be running so many errands? But you have to listen to your body because it's the only place we have to live. It's the only place we have to live. You know, I can swap career. I've swapped career. I can change my name. I even have a new passport for Portugal. I've even have a Portuguese nationality now because I'm Sephardic. I've managed to do that. I can't swap my body if I wear this body out, okay? It's the only place we have to live. We have to look after it, okay? We're commanded to. We're commanded to. We have to honor this. It's a vessel for our holy soul. We have to look after it. So, thank you, Hayley. Yeah, I'm sorry I haven't answered all the questions, but you know, feel free to email me. My website is peppermintwellness.co.uk. Please look up the podcast. You can listen to a podcast while you are cooking for Shabbat. Just stick me on and you will hear me talking. And the subject, everything from stress to, yeah, all sorts.
Okay, we'll post Suzy's details, and I actually think that it could be that it's already on the flyer. Is that right, Suzy? Do you want to give us one line or two lines for how to start your journal? Somebody had asked a couple of times just give us one or two lines quickly for starting journal.
Yeah. So what do I need to know now is a nice one. That's one that I often use. You could also try, I know someone who writes a letter from fear, from a position of fear. So I'm terrified of how am I going to find a job? You know, like I'm never going to earn enough. You know, I'm not good enough. Everyone's more qualified than me. Write it all down. And then you kind of write a letter from a position of love. So some people like that. You can just ask a question and just see what happens. You know, what should I do about this? Just play around with it. The other thing I do is I actually write affirmations in my book and I doodle on them. So I'm not an artist, but I like to doodle affirmations. So say I write, I am joyful or I am calm. And I'll do like little daisies around it. So I write 3 affirmations every morning in my journal. And it will be whatever you're kind of worried about. I write messages to myself. I mean, there's a lot with journaling. You can play around with it, but just try, you know, and go gently with yourself. You're not going to do everything that I've told you, you know. Do one thing and congratulate yourself and give yourself a pat on the back, okay? We don't get enough of that. So really cheer yourself on. Okay.
Thank you.